Hello. Let me get this tweet out for not this tweet out. I'm working on a big one, but I'm gonna let Twitter know that I'm on this talking about politics. Fucking stressing me out because you can't trust the media. Have no actual idea where the like where it's at. We just don't fucking know. We only hear from the media and from social media, and we haven't seen people being blown up and shit. I haven't. I've only seen like wreckage on film, and everyone is armed with a camera, right? So if people were being attacked, there would be footage of it. There just would. There's fucking cameras everywhere. Like, it's hard to not be in view of a camera probably nowadays. Somewhere. So, yeah, can't it's just you can't trust the media. It's fucked. We need another way, and but we need time. So we need to not fall apart as a fucking species. We need to get some type of peaceful resolution, because ultimately, here's the thing, and it sucks. Say you have two options, just only two options. You either have a world war, or you have a country lose their sovereignty and freedom for potentially in perpetuity, but as the generations pass, they would just become Russians and used to it. But how much better off would everyone be, especially the Ukrainians, if there wasn't a world war centered on their country? It's the lesser of two evils as I see it, and it sucks. And I don't like the only I literally want to just go to that fucking DMZ, whatever it's called right now. I just want to walk across it and go fucking talk to Putin and or just fucking that would just stand there on the border like and protest, not make them or make them either. Dude, if they invade, yeah, I'm probably not gonna go and sit on the border, because that doesn't. I don't think that like the invasion part is like if you invade a country, you're invading a country. It's so hard. Like I'm prioritizing avoiding death, but I can't. I should say, I have to trust. I have to take the risk that Putin does take it, and I don't know why I'm saying I when I'm advising. Sorry, hold on. Sorry for the. I didn't prepare for this. I was about to tweet like crazy and figured I would just do this instead. Maybe I'll edit it or something later. Okay, so Let me turn this off. Let me turn. What is it? Cool. It's got like an auto transition. I didn't do that, or I didn't set that up. Gonna look at a world map or a map of Eurasia. Sorry, I'm tired. I am no. Right. Poor choice of color. What? This is saying Ukraine is. God dang it. This is saying Ukraine is NATO, but they're not. Okay. Their surroundings are. Who's there? God, I can't believe I don't know this. Belarus. Moldova. I don't worry so much for Finland and Sweden. I think they're okay. Could be wrong. I have no intel, honestly. I'm just like doing war games in my head, basically. It's a big country, Ukraine. Like for Europe. For Europe. Doesn't. Yeah, what is. What is this? Kaliningrad? Blast. What? How did they keep that? What the fuck? It's from like the Soviet Union. What the hell? exclave. Oh. Oh, yeah, I see that. And so an exclave is the surrounded thing. Or, wait, no, what is an exclave? Oh, okay, yeah, cool. How? Okay. Need to learn my history better, definitely. That's probably fine. Okay, so I'm looking at Kaliningrad. It's a city that Russia had when they were the Soviet Union. That or something. And it stayed with them somehow after the fall of the Soviet Union. Don't know how that works, but apparently that's what's up. And huh. Here's the thing about that area controlled by Russian-backed separatists. It only takes a small number of loud and armed individuals to control very many, especially unarmed individuals. So I don't think so. The control is like forceful, physical, military control. But a vote wouldn't necessarily say it's like supported to separate. I mean, I say like they should definitely have a vote. It's we're just too modern, too advanced. We know too much. Like we didn't used to progress like we do now, and so like 6 years of progression is so much, and if we just spent that on making weapons, like yeah, there's some trickle down later, and certainly there was, but there's not much use for like the high physics stuff in military weapons. It's like engineering and kind of creativity of what you can do with what you've got and the materials, properties, and stuff. Manufacturing. No, we should aim it at space. Like 6 years of aiming at space instead of each other and not destroying like remember like we bombed German factories, right? Those we think of them as like Nazi factories, but they're just the factories in Germany when the Nazis took over. So imagine there's like a gigafactory, right? bombing factories is like bombing a gigafactory. That thing like took so much work in those takes, so much work to make, and are so productive, and you just destroy that because you need to destroy their means of production. If you're doing a fucking full war, and so that has to be avoided at all costs. In the controlled area should vote what. And so here's the thing I can't decide is, I don't know, I feel like I should outwardly say one thing. Like I feel like I should say we have to fight it at all costs to like keep their sovereignty, or like make sure there's a vote, essentially, with by any means necessary. Or if we let that go and those people lose what they lose, for the greater good. Like, it's freedom is so important, and like even one person not being free is not acceptable, you know. But depending on the size of the conflict, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions dying, you know, I guess the Bible says not to like weigh evils or something, but you totally do. And it just looks like you have to not fight at all costs when you want to defend freedom at all costs. Oh, and here's the thing. So I was thinking, like, let the Ukrainians decide by vote, or by, if they fight back, we'll help them, right? But if the area is militarily controlled by separatists, then there won't have to be fighting, and it also won't reflect the feelings of the Ukrainians unless they fight the separatists outright. And I don't know if that's full on fighting, or if it's poking and taking pot shots. Doesn't feel like there should be a difference, but it's probably, maybe it's slowly escalated, like shooting up in the air to, like, you know what I mean? So it hasn't felt like this huge attack when it happens, because it's just a little worse than last time. What do you do? Because, alright, like, for Elon Musk has like the key for the next step of humanity, which is for us to leave the country. They'll leave the country, to not leave the continent and try to find another continent, leave the planet and try to find another planet. We won't have to take it from anyone, but we will have to engineer everything, right? Animals are manipulated by their environment, basically. Like, they're liquid in the container of nature. We're the opposite. We're the container. We shape nature how we want to suit us. So on other planets, we'll have to shape everything to suit every need of ours, and then every want. So at first, it's going to be the very basics. It's going to be miserable, like living in a submarine. with windows, because the pressure difference isn't as much, because at like deep in the ocean it's like many atmospheres. Even in vacuum it's only one atmosphere, because space is zero and you have one to make it feel normal in your ship. So it's the the pressure vessel can be way lighter for space stuff, which is good, so you can put windows. But it's still going to be cramped, and we won't have a solution for gravity, for decreased gravity. Um, maybe. So maybe protection from radiation, but then you would probably lose your windows if you put your shit underground. And I think we should put our shit underground. I feel so like what I envision is the boring company drills, or just whatever, whoever drills underground, and then basically inflates membranes that make a seal. And they don't have to be like they so like well, you don't have to make it micrometeorite proof, you know. um, you don't have to make it storm proof. If you put it underground, it's just what gives you a seal, and it's backed by like solid rock, you know. I feel like that's way easier, just like less material required. um, yeah, I feel like that's just better, and you avoid the radiation. um, and then I think you put farms on the surface. um, the greenhouses will be tough. I imagine inflatable, almost like balloons, like almost like condom material, like super stretchy, and so maybe like a balloon too, inflated, and then held down with like held against that pressure with um, a column, but it's not. It's in tension instead of compression, because it's like I think I tweeted this, maybe not. Like a cell in apoptosis, or apoptosis, whatever it's called, when a programmed cell death. Um, the microfilaments like pull in the like opposing membranes, and it makes this what starts to look like electron orbital barbells, if you've seen those. But just basically have lobes, like teardrop shaped lobes. Um, that's because you're pinching in a stretchy thing against a pressure, and so it makes these. Look it up. Apoptosis. Apoptosis. Um, anyway, that's what I envision it looking like. But that it's got to change if you if as you're developing it, you or testing it or whatever, you know, shows to be ineffective, or especially faulty with one malfunction event, or whatever it's called. It's like a storm. How would it survive a storm? And for instance, what if it's got a base and like the storm lifted it up? I don't think that's gonna happen on Mars with its thin atmosphere. But you gotta account for all that kind of shit. Micrometeorites, if it's a membrane, an inflated membrane, and you poke a hole in it, those don't tend to try to seal back up, you know. Definitely can't make something that's gonna pop. So maybe that alone wipes out that whole idea. Maybe. And probably, except you, if you could, well, you could probably, you could weave fibers, or basically make it a, oh, yeah, what I'm thinking is so you make that membrane, which is a polymer, but within, use that polymer as a matrix for a composite material that has basically coiled fibers, and so it allows it to still stretch, but if you poke a hole, it it won't spread. Um, I think that would work. I wonder how hard it would be to coil whatever fiber through. And you could do. I guess you could do like a, what's it called, a square spring or whatever, when it's just like a zigzag versus helix, single helix. Anyway, that's engineering or something. This is more important right now, and I don't. You know, I've noticed increased air activity around me, and I'm right by like the north. I'm close to the North Bay of San Francisco, the North Shore. Um, I think there's like high altitude. What I imagine is it's high altitude F-35s, because I've heard them almost 24/7. I don't. So it's a patrol, and I hear it almost 24/7. Sometimes I don't hear it, um, but often I do short. Like it's only for a short amount of time. Um, I imagine them to be sub hunters. I think it's like there's no chance there's gonna be surface or air assets present, but subs maybe, and who knows, like if you really, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities with subs, because they still, other than their power plants, they still work basically the way they did when they first started, except GPS makes a big difference. But I feel like there's so much you can do with that. Um, and so that's what I wonder, is if those, because they would just wouldn't dare to send a, right, any surface vessel or airplane, or aircraft. So I imagine they're hunting for subs, which is cool. I wonder what their sensor is, like what their. I mean, it's got to be E&M, electromagnetic. Probably just a range of frequencies, and I wonder which ones. That's the thing, though, is like you can pick and choose, like really what types, like what you can finally pick apart the characteristics of the light that's coming back. So if you get the right collector to collect the light in the manner you need it to be collected, so pass through whatever filters, gratings, slits, whatever, um, do that, and you can find characteristics of the light basically that would tell you this is light that bounced off a sub. And when I say, okay, so when I say light, I mean the whole spectrum, electromagnetic waves. There are going to be some that bounce differently, or selectively, or it just has a different like absorption spectrum. So you'll have different stuff, and if you use a wavelength that can penetrate the water, for instance, you could just see it as if it was a flying whale. So I wonder what they've got, and I'm sure they've got multiple because they have to look through multiple media. Just, some just long, far away through clouds, through, because just even if they are specific sub hunters, they're definitely air, fully air capable. I wouldn't, you wouldn't develop a super radar. Well, maybe they do develop a super radar and put a lesser one, and develop a lesser one just for another aircraft that doesn't specialize in what that instrument is has the most effect in improving its effectiveness. I used effect twice. Yeah, so that's weird. The airplane, here in the airplane, it's like, it's nice to know, like, we're actively being protected, but it also is scary to know that people think, or there are decision makers who think strong, like, that there's enough risk of danger. God, I'm like tripping on my words. There's enough risk of danger to warrant pretty much 24/7 patrols. Damn, it's fucking crazy what's going on. And I'm worried, man. And I feel like my damn. I feel like my words potentially have huge impact on lives and freedom. And damn. Thinking no way they take all of Ukraine. Fuck. So what I think is Crimea is the appeasement anymore, and it's considered a full invasion. That's what I think it should be. No, I shouldn't say that. That's what I would want it to be. I don't think necessarily. Well, what I think the right thing to do is to not fight. Essentially, turn the other cheek, which would mean, effectively in this situation, allowing them to invade without firing a shot. I think that's what happened in Crimea. I don't know how bad it's been for Crimea. I don't know how well Ukraine is doing, although, after peace is achieved, I feel like they will be on the come up. If there's peace, if shit doesn't get destroyed. I feel like that because I think when basically it is helpful when the world focuses on you. Probably it's helpful to their wants and needs. They're just known better and and noticed what's going on and probably interacted with, and so this could help them. Um, this East West thing, holy shit! That so I truly believe that this an example, a modern example, and way bigger example of the media. Sorry, the media has done this before when they got Biggie and Tupac killed. Um, they the East-West rivalry was intriguing and interesting, and it sold. It brought an audience, it brought in money. So the more they pushed it, they followed the profits, and wow, they followed the profits, and it like influential entities saying like they fuel extremists basically. So like for normal people it's just kind of like intriguing or whatever, and some people get pissed or super happy, but some people get absolutely belligerent and want to kill shit. um but it still, if it brings profit. So that's what's going on now, but on the world stage. Oh yeah. So then that got like real shit talking going. That's the thing, is it actually caused a real conflict. It wasn't just extremists necessarily. It was loud people talking shit to the other, and the other loud people talking shit, and then both sides realizing, hey, they are our enemy, and an actual conflict arises from it. Same fucking thing with the media, like seriously. And one potential example of this, and I wonder, I've only ever heard things about Putin from the media and George, both of which have proved to be entirely untrustworthy. So like I just don't know how Putin is. So obviously we all know what we've been told about Putin in the media, whether it's true or not. We know what we've been told. With George, he said he's a strong, smart leader, but like an uncaring. I don't know if he used the word ruthless, but like uncaring, cold, calculated, not really caring about people's plight if it gets in the way of like one of his objectives or whatever. I didn't get the sense that he thought he was evil, but also George I can't trust him. Like he just makes shit up. So does the news. So I don't know. Maybe he's fine and no worse than our guy, but we're better at covering shit up. Like who knows? Like maybe they violate human rights, but we do too. But we just don't know it because they're not they're trying to say like these guys are bad, like make them change, instead of saying like we're bad and we need to change. That's fucking what both sides should be doing, instead of saying you change. Say fucking look inward and what do you gotta do to change to be your best, and then both of you meet each other at your best, see where the real conflicts are. Because to me it seems like it's only economic, and it doesn't, like, there don't have to be guns involved at all. Like it's countries with different governments, different economies, and in different cultures, but also like intermixed with each other. Culture. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, no, they should look inward, see what they have to fix about themselves, and deal with this. Because that, if we did that, we'd probably avoid a war. Like, we'd be able to talk it out a lot better. This, if we do this, we're gonna set ourselves back a lot. It's gonna be so miserable for so many people, so many lost lives. And wasted time when we could be looking inward, fixing ourselves, and racing to space. Because that's another thing, is you don't, an entire nation and its entire industry doesn't just do one thing. It's not just like, we gotta do solar. Like, people, no one that says we need solar thinks that way, that like it's only solar. But everyone, not everyone, a lot of people hearing that say, whoa, what about this thing? It's like, well, there's 100,000 other companies. Like, one of the others can do it. They specialize at this. Don't bitch at them for not doing this. Like, the fuck. Yeah, because we need layers. It's got to be a layered approach. Like, we got to address it all, and so don't, like, space is one of them. Like, harnessing space has given us GPS, and it's given us beautiful pictures, and it's given us a lot of other shit that I probably don't know about, but GPS alone is big enough. Like, airline, think about like airplanes without GPS. It's kind of sketchy, right? It's like relying on radio. Maybe not even radio. You don't even have comms because there's no satellites. So yeah, like, space is important. And just because someone's a billionaire, so that's the thing, is it is so, like, it's not about how much money, it's about where to put the money. Like, where is it going to be effective? That, deciding that, like, choosing that, especially for billions, is like a company-sized job. It's not one person's job, and it's not Elon Musk's side job, right? It shouldn't be. He should be doing the shit he does because he could use 48 hours in a day, and should essentially have the right people set up a company just dedicated to figuring out where to put the money. And I think he would make, and he and his people would make a great model for how to do that. I think. I know that Bill Gates has done something like that. I wonder how effective it is. I wonder how well funded it is, because I think Elon, honestly, like, I think Elon would be prepared to give away 100 billion. Like, I don't think he at all is counting billions. Like, he has plenty of money. That's probably how he sees it, is just like, I've got enough money, you know. So he's sitting on it because he doesn't, like, where do you put it that it doesn't go to nothing and doesn't go to something bad? It shouldn't be his problem. It should be some company running a foundation, essentially. And it could be a huge foundation, right? Right away, immediately. And developed by he and his people, who have shown time and time again to be great at setting up productive entities. Sorry, I should have been on this full shit. Okay. So, oh yeah, layered approach. Um, and okay, so farming in space is going to be really difficult, and we're going to have to get a lot better at it, and that's going to so help people on Earth. So, and it's not worth putting it's not worth putting so much into it that it's self-productive if it hasn't shown to be profitable. It doesn't have to make a profit. It has to make revenue, and it has to, like, people have to see potential that it will ultimately make profit. I think then there will be full dedication to fully closed ecosystems, because I imagine it'll start as like partially closed ecosystems where you have to supplement it and make deliveries and stuff. Oh yeah, but basically you got to do, like, you got to be able to get there, and frequently enough, which means you can't be building fucking rockets all the time with all your resources. You got to, like, with airplanes, you don't fly to Europe and then fucking jump out of your plane in a capsule and let it crash, you know? Good thing too. So we shouldn't do that with rockets either. We should take them off and land them, and we just finally can, and we're making good progress on it. But people want a war, and will necessarily have to focus on that, and not only like that, that's only the angle of the productivity that we lose due to it, not like the time lost, not the producers. That's the thing, is I was talking about the time lost, not the producers, the people, the lives lost, and the civilians, which at least in World War II, I think it was more than half. Like, I think a lot more than half of the casualties. So that's like 40 million civilians or more in World War II. So that's the potential of a world war. So Elon is coming out with the Holy Grail of rockets. Really, it's just the first of the, like, in 200 years we'll see Starship as the first of the viable ones. So like we'll see it like the ME-262, the first jet plane, because it was the first one that like showed to like be able to do it and do it effectively, even though others had done stuff. but it's not even like that because it's a complete different type of technology where the difference is having to build it every launch and refueling it every launch. Like, you know, um, so that's one huge change. And then we had COVID, which really the metaverse was coming likely, but this really accelerated us into it, and with Unity, like at the same time, and we're all going through the same shit through COVID, and it's Web3 time, and so it's the chance to do both, like colonize space and now have this connectivity of Web3. So colonize space and have it be an entire human achievement, or a national achievement and a, a competition against another nation who wants to do that, to colonize space. I feel like the Web3 should prime us to want to do that. Um, but so many people are saying, why do the space stuff when we have problems on Earth? It's not. He's not trying to, like, if an asteroid hits us, he's not saying like we're gonna die and we could die in 50 years, so we gotta be on Mars. He's saying like at some point we have to do this. We'll have to get off the planet if we want to survive in perpetuity. Like if you can ever imagine humanity stopping, you'd think like, what the fuck? Why? Like, no, right? Even if it's in a billion years, like at some point at the time they stop, no. So at some point you gotta spread your wings and fly, essentially. And yeah, there's some reasons not to, but there's more reasons to do it. And it's so little of the productivity of humanity and so little of its value is locked into space, all of the space tech. It's so small. It's like less than 0.1% of GDP or some fucking tiny number like that. 0.1% of the GDP, right? You're saying like, why billionaires in space versus people on Earth? I shouldn't joke about them. They matter more, but Elon and his companies specialize at that stuff. And he's got a lot of money, and he's like giving it to the people who are good at that stuff, who are good at finding people fresh water and nutritional food and clothes and education and shelter and medicine and stuff, right? Like people specialize in that. SpaceX, Tesla, the Boring Company, Neuralink don't specialize in that. They specialize in what they specialize in. And he's a billionaire, but he's an effective, super effective genius. And I think genius is as genius does, but in his case, he's a super, super ultra intelligent. From what I can tell, he's like so intelligent and so knowledgeable. Both of those are different and they both matter. He's intelligent and knowledgeable and super hardworking and kind of loved and a little bit can do no wrong because he doesn't do wrong. He definitely is always trying to do right. Sometimes he does wrong, but we all do. I'm just like ranting about Musk now. I always lose my train of thought. Shouldn't bitch about him. And he's good at rockets and shit. He's not good at like developing solar projects, for instance. Like he could be. I'm sure he could be fucking fantastic at it, but he shouldn't try to get good. He shouldn't waste that time because he's already good at some important things or some useful things. It doesn't even have to be that important. And he's doing his passion. Like and that's what it's all about. Like he's he's winning the most, and the people, basically the haters that like don't wish wish they were winning that much or whatever, are pissed that someone is winning that much. Why can't it be me? Um, and so hate and find any reason to hate and even and skew stuff to hate, and then also skew stuff to then make a jump, like a logical jump and blah 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 Hitler type shit, you know? Yeah, yeah, okay. So, what what else? I came on here to talk about politics. Um, I don't know what the fuck is going on because I can't trust any way I get my news. Like I feel like I have to be there, you know? It's we're back in the fucking Middle Ages. Yeah, dude, that's getting tweeted. Save. Okay. Sorry. I'll read this after I tweet it. Alright, so this is getting longer than I expected. Okay, sorry. So the tweet I wrote, or I'm about to tweet, is I feel like I can't trust any news type information I get via any method, like news stuff. I feel like I have to be there on the ground and see it. We're back to we're back to the Middle Ages. This We're back to the Middle Ages because this goddamn media monster, which unfettered profit seeking has nurtured. That grammar is wrong. Okay. Change the sentence. We're back to the Middle Ages because this goddamn media monster was nurtured by unfettered profit seeking. I should change it to this. We're back to the Middle Ages because this goddamn media monster is unfettered profit seeking. Yeah, I think that's good. The media killed Tupac and Biggie Smalls. True. Um, the media killed Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Yeah. Now they're going to start a World War III. Make a mountain out of a molehill. They skew and lie. They pick two sides. They make them up. They make us believe that there are even sides. They make us believe there's even a conflict in most cases, honestly. They make us believe there's a conflict. They're so good at dividing us because the harder we're divided, the more we watch the status of the division, right? So if we're so divided as to be about to go to war, then we are glued to our TVs, right? Which means, oh my bad. Yeah, I have ADHD, bipolar, depression, and shit. So yeah, these are my psych meds. Thank you for that. They've been there for a good hour and 12 minutes now. Okay. Uh, Parker Woodley, how you doing? Um, News media manifests conflict to sell our viewership. Oh, yeah, yeah. They make us believe there's even a conflict, right? They tell us there's a conflict. We believe there's a conflict, so we watch the status of the conflict. With war, it's the ultimate. So, like, with Biggie and Smalls, it was like the East-West argument. And then, like, some little things, maybe not even incited necessarily by news, some little things may incite some extremists, which then do some shit that the news picks up and then it sells well. And so the news continues to do stories about it because it sells well. And those stories, because it's so prominent, it makes it seem like it's a huge thing because we act like this news report is all of society and this is taking up a quarter of it, so like it's you know huge, that versus all the rest of what's going on in society. um it was a few extremists like brawling or exchanging shots over a an offense or misunderstanding, but then it sells. It's whether it starts deceitfully or not, it sells, and then it economically evolves because it's profitable, right? It evolves towards um it evolves towards what maximizes profits, and viewership maximizes profits, and fear sorry yeah, fear has been in the past answered by the news. Like listen to the news every night. What's the status with the war? What's the status with the conflict? Whatever. It keeps us glued. And so war is like a way, way, way stronger profit motive for news media, because and they'll be doing even better, basically, if we do have war, because we'll be even more glued to them. The only way they wouldn't do better is if the companies that would advertise for them literally had to be repurposed for making weapons of war, right? Other than that, they're going to keep advertising and paying for advertising, and so the news is going to do what they can to maximize viewership, and we have learned and taught them that fear is the best. It's almost like fear and sex, and for some reason science takes a backseat to that, and art. But fear's number one, and then sex sells, and then I'm probably missing stuff: art, science, sports, shit. I don't know. But fear for sure. We're creatures. We're survivors. Like that's why mammals survived the asteroid, the whatever, the thing that killed the dinosaurs. That's why mammals survived, because they were survivors. And that's how it's been through mammal evolution. That's how it's been for everything that's ever evolved. It's about survival. But mammals were best at it, so they spread out, and then we became the best. The brains became favorable in ensuring survival. Clinching, I can't think of the word. So survival, fear is a survival tactic. It's literally almost like a fight or flight, and the only way to do anything about it is to just watch the news or think about it or talk about it. Unless you go there, or unless you have a phone call with decision makers, like all you can do is try to look at what's going on through the news. Like that's, and not just the news. So we've got the news, then we've got other like independent, like actual news, like reporters and small companies and stuff, and maybe some big honest companies, but you don't know, so I just don't trust any of them. And you've got people on the ground, and people on the ground have social media, right? And so stuff spreads like crazy. Like, okay, so the explosion in Beirut, that spread like fucking crazy, and it was social media, and the news picked it up. The news picked it up from social media, right? Like a lot of times that happens, and then when it sells, they stick on it. They stay on it because it still sells. They try to fucking wring it out and milk it for all it's worth, and fucking yeah. And it's always some kind of fear or conflict or anger, like enraging someone, like, oh, what'd they do this time? you know, um, maybe they're angry at whatever, and they want reasons to justify that are comforting and reassuring of them because it aligns with their worldview. So when you watch that and see it, it's gratifying. It gives you a feeling of pleasure, and so and so evoking for them, evoking strong emotions, um, is what sells, I guess. So love, anger, uh, love, sex, anger, um, hate. No, sorry, anger, fear. But a lot of times, fear breeds hate, and a lot of times, anger breeds fear and hate, right? But those are they sell the best, and so we just have to somehow entirely as a species abandon news media, or they have to be taken down, like somehow. I don't how Whatever it takes, essentially. The 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 least severe means that it would take to completely cease their effect on society entirely. um Whatever it takes, if we have to burn their fucking buildings down, it's worth it, because cities, they are inciting shit that will get cities and countries burned down. Like, lesser of two evils, right? And I'm not saying burning their shit down. I'm saying quit, fire bad people, who knows about the owners. Owners sell. um, Board members fire people. Investors get different board members, or just sell, liquidate the fucking company, or liquidate its stock. I don't know. Like, someone do something so it's not, so the media doesn't fucking jerk us around anymore. This is bullshit. We know it's happening. Like, we've known for a while, but now we are like, we accept, not accept, we are very we're in mutual understanding that it's not a conspiracy to say that the media is completely lying to us and tugging us around, and feeding fear, seeding hate, um, breeding division. Like, we know it's happening now, and we're all connected this way. We don't have to all connect to that central hub of the news to see what's going on, right? We can be connected individually to each other, to all each other, right? Like, a Zoom meeting is like a bunch of real people from everywhere are all connected with each other, instead of we're all looking at the news, and then when we talk, we are talking about news we heard, but it's all coming from the news ultimately. When we've got webs of people, webs of connections, which is what social media is, it we get the news from the ground, right? So that's why I don't think this shelling is real, because I'd fucking see it on social media. 100%. I would see explosions and shit. We saw Beirut right away. If there was one shell to go off, there would be all cameras out all over the place looking for the next one, right? So we would absolutely know. All I've seen is I saw a part of a broken building I didn't see any dead bodies. I saw part of a broken building and like a pile of bricks. If there was active, like, we wouldn't know if there was shelling. It would be a globally known thing with un like undoubtable proof. It'd be all over the fucking place, and it wouldn't be Bigfoot. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be Bigfoot. It would be the giant squid. You know, we would fucking find one, basically. God dang. So don't trust the media. Just don't. Like, whatever it takes to not trust them, don't trust them. And then along with that, parallel to that, we have to take them down. However it takes, whether we have to take them down or we have to take down their effectiveness on us, that's harder though, because you have to target everyone to make it not affect everyone. But also you can just target them to not make it affect everyone. So it's very hard to not target them. I'm fully inclined to target the actual news media and not try to say to everyone else, don't listen, but go to them and say, don't lie. But really force them to not lie by the least severe means necessary, but any means necessary. So like I said, like, you know, if it takes going in there and pulling them out of their chairs and desks and breaking their hard drives and shit, not breaking their hard drives, we should that's another thing, is we should investigate them. And literally, this is like inciting public hysteria and and panic and conflict, and it's fucking what's it called, literally betraying our country. What's that? Not a mutiny. You know what I mean. Fucking being a turncoat, basically, but for money, like turning towards money instead of lives and the productivity of your entire country. It's basically, the media is like, fuck all these other industries, they can burn because this makes us the most money, so we're just gonna do it because that's how economics works. And we've accepted it. Well, we've just let it happen because we didn't know. Then we knew, but we didn't realize the gravity of it. But now we're more and more realizing the gravity of it, and we fuck, I lost my train of thought again. We got to be done with it. Like, we got to know to be done with it and choose to be done with it and do something about being done with it. Oh yeah, they're telling they're telling soldiers, militaries, and civilians and everyone, and other companies, like, fuck all of your aspirations and hopes and dreams. We need this profit, and fear sells. And what is scarier than a potential world war? Right? And it's almost like they had practice with Biggie and Smalls. So it's not like, so maybe it was innocent at one point, but that set up a model that now is happening again, and totally intentionally at this point, totally intentionally, because it's been called out left, right, and center, and they haven't changed, and the inconsistencies remain. how they say there's shelling, but our network of globally connected people didn't tell us that there was, didn't show us shelling, right? So now, trust the network. Trust the network, not the news. The news is like a few entities that are trying to shape the world. These let us all shape it together, right? And once we all vote with phones, hold on, I'm just gonna tweet that. Hopefully there weren't mistakes. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, trust the network. We're all connected. Trust the network. We can respond way quicker to things. Here's another thing about our government. It was made in a time. It was set up. It was designed to make it so a tyrant couldn't like just take over, and that's part of why it was so important to protect the media, like to set it up to protect the media, because that was part of the and they made it they protected the media, but they also made it very hard to change quickly. They made all, like, obviously there's the three branches, but they made it way more complicated and inefficient than that, just so you couldn't go in there and make a fucking war machine, you know. But now we all know what's going on. Well, we just have so much more access to information, and we're connected, and things change way faster. Like, you know, it was a horse and carriage for fucking centuries, and then it went to internal combustion cars and now electric cars in a century. And you know, we flew first in 1903, first flight ever, and then we landed on the moon in 69. Like, outrageous, right? And then recently though, like, look at where computers and shit are versus 2000. Like, that's 22 years. It's not that long. We advance so quickly, but our government can't, because it was set up to move. It was set up to move slow in a slow era, like slow for a slow era. Now it's that same fucking system with more red tape because we had to fix their errors, so more tangled and shit, and outdated and cluttered with like bullshit laws and just bad, like, unnecessary, ill thought out, whatever, you know. We need to adapt, like, just like technology adapts, and whatever, you know, as society changes, government has to change. It used to not fucking change at all. We set it up in a time when it was just normal that it didn't change quickly. Like, we didn't know the difference. It probably seemed like it changed quickly, like stuff changed quickly at the time compared to before. And now it does too, but it really fucking does. And our laws have to reflect that. And now voting doesn't have to be the process it is. Like, let's use fucking phones. We do transactions using passports and driver's licenses and health insurance cards and credit cards, debit cards, social security cards, green cards, like every other types of things, I don't know. All the things, we use those online. We trust them online. We do official shit online. We should fucking vote online. We could vote on so much more. Like, so much more. We could have so much more control of what goes on in the world. And we should, because we're the network of all the people, right? They're just governments whose only job is to basically, it's like to babysit society. Just make sure they play well and they've all got what they need, and that's it. It's not to be fucking sending our babies to war with their babies. Like, that's what governments do. Sometimes they don't only do that, but when they do, that's the insanity of it. Is it is an entity just supposed to be for the people, and and to do public works, organize public works, make it so big things can be done. Like a pyramid's a big fucking thing. You have to organize a bunch of people, and so it takes an organizational head to do that. And so at the top of an entire, the biggest separation we have of regions of land, is a government, and right, they do that. But then they are the babysitter. They're supposed to supply make sure everything's okay and make sure they're safe and fed and clothed and have shelter. And we're not supposed to go fucking tell these kids to go fight those kids because I don't like their babysitter. Bro, come on. So voting with these, important. Choosing, you also vote with your wallet. So choosing which companies you give your money to based off your values and morals, especially now that we have more disposable income, we can buy and purchase and spend based on our values more than just necessity now because of more disposable income. So we can vote the way we want to vote rather than just having to buy, the ramen or whatever. So yeah, we vote like that. Vote for the corporations and stuff. The corporations are the power. They are the power as far as producers. But just like I said, in this area controlled by Russian-backed separatists, it only takes a few loud armed people for an entire region to be considered to be controlled by them. Same with a military in a U.S. military. It's a few people who are armed. I wouldn't necessarily say loud, but relatively few people who are armed versus like our entire workforce, right? Like so the power is really in the workforce. It's just the military has a very specific power. They're very powerful at what is the word? At making the enemy unable to wage war by destroying their equipment, by disabling their equipment, and as well as disabling their ability to fight, whether that means jamming a radar or shooting a person because that person is a weapon, and the way you disable that is by killing them, killing a person, because war just makes people weapons. It's crazy. We are so fucking dynamic, and we go and be a fucking weapon. It does, just like people are say guns have a very narrow range of uses. They have a relatively narrow range of uses, but it's packing a whole ass human into just you're a weapon, it's absurd. Like, absolutely. Um, oh my gosh. Corporations got the power. They gotta make it. I mean, they're gonna basically the corporations are gonna save us, but the ones who have guns, and that's just the way it is. And there's not really a way to like arm yourself better than any of these three powers. So we just have to hope, pray, wish, and whatever that there is no war, so that these corporations can save us from ourselves and our climate change, the climate change we're causing, and take us to space. Like, we can do all that, and it can be fucking great, and all the things Trump said, it's going to be magnificent, terrific, whatever. As long as we don't have a war, and it's very few people deciding whether we'll have a war or not. Very, very, very few. And then there few, relatively few, armed enforcers versus like the rest of humanity, basically. And the rest of humanity, basically, we won't stand for it, but then we hear from the media that it's already happening. It's already happening. It's already happening. And then we're just like, okay, there's a war. There's a war. And then it makes it so we're accepting of there being a war when there just isn't and doesn't need to be, other than potential tyrants. And if that is the case, then it doesn't make any sense that an entire nation should listen to someone like that. I don't get it. How long? Space. God, the space. Honestly, I think if we avoid the media, like, I think the media, its effect will make or break, cause or not cause this war. So the less effective we can make the media by whatever means, the better chance we have of avoiding this war. I think straight up. I think that is the target. I think there's a bunch of threads we've been pulling, and that's it. We have to eliminate the media's effect. Sorry, that's a joke, but very serious. We need to eliminate their effect, and that will stop the overwhelming majority and the power of the world from being anywhere close to accepting an armed conflict. And like, people get scared and you escalate, you go protect them. Well, you go protect them. That's how you see it. They see it as an escalation, and it's because they're scared, and they're scared because they believe it's a conflict. They believe it's going to happen because the media constantly tells us they believe it's going to happen. That's like always they're always like, no, it's still going to happen. It's still going to happen. They constantly fucking tell us it's still going to happen. It's not if we don't listen to them straight up. If we don't believe it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. If we believe it's going to happen, it may well and likely will happen. So just, it's not going to happen. And believe it's not for the sake of it not happening. Whatever it takes. Okay? Because we can't have a war right now. We just got into Web 3 and we just got reusable spaceships. Now we're all connected and we can spread to space. Not the time for a war. It's literally the worst time for a war in the history of humanity. Absolutely. It's the worst time for a war in the history of humanity. The fact that three people could cause it and derail human civilization is like, we need to impress that on people, and that would definitely get enough pressure on those guys to make them not have it happen. But the media is who still runs the information dissemination, just because we hadn't realized that it's us and our networks that really control information flow. That's tough because you're playing telephone, but pictures and videos, right? And yes, there are deep fakes, but if there's there are deep fakes, and it's very clear to tell that Beirut was not a deep fake, right? There were fucking hundreds of views of it. That would be the same if there were two shells fired, even. Because one, if it wasn't on camera, would bring all the cameras out for the second and any others. I haven't seen that. I don't believe it happened. I believe the media, it's not a skew, it's a completely fabricated and baseless story. It's not based on reality. They're making shit up for profit. And they're protected from the government's interference because they're media. Because they're the news. They're protected so we don't have a tyrant take control. Now they're the tyrant. Right? So and we didn't plan for that. We just we didn't organize it for that. So no one has jurisdiction over them, but they have, like, the UN doesn't even have jurisdiction over them. Basically, they're a sovereignly operating entity. As a corporation, it's like an individual, a free individual with the rights of a U.S. citizen, and they're causing absolute global chaos and getting people killed. Biggie and Pac killed. Tupac was a Martin Luther King type. He was huge, would have been huge for us. I haven't seen anyone since Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and James Baldwin. Anyone since them other than Tupac. And Tupac might be better because he was brilliant and I don't know. You can't say better. You can't compare him like that. He was great. He was like them. He was in their ranks. He was in that Mount Rushmore, and the media got him killed. And Biggie is on the Mount Rushmore of rap in general. Tupac is of rap and of like community leaders, basically. And now we're at this crux of human civilization, the jump to Web3, a step towards the singularity. Not only it's a step towards the singularity because of like the connectedness, but it's also a step towards the stars and planets and stuff. So it's like the connection. We got to connect before we leave. Make sure we're all humanity. We're all copacetic. We know how to get along. Like, this is the way. We know the way to do it. Now we're ready to spread. So it's either like we're mature species or a juvenile species. If we're juvenile, we'll have war and we'll stay juveniles. If we can avert the war and continue building, developing, and learning Web3, learning how to coexist with it and with each other in Web3, and learn how, reusable spaceships are the first step. There is so much to do to colonize space, because like it's going to start as submarines, right? And it's going to go all the way to the point where it's just could be just as comfortable as Earth. That's like the goal, right? So all of those technologies need to be developed. All of that just straight up mass has to be brought to orbit. Even that is going to be a monumental task that absolutely requires reusable rockets. So like literally it's the keystone, the linchpin, the centerpiece, the main character, the protagonist, the reason, the point, the why. Not the why. Wow, that kind of spiraled. The I should just stop it. I've tried to make too many cool things. It's the keystone linchpin of our expansion. The Web3 thing is like a slow thing that's happening, right? But this is a giant. It's just like a change in direction. Now we can do this. We have this ability. Just like nuclear technology was just like it developed, but it was like a change that developed. Just like these reusable rockets, big change, it's going to develop. Whereas Web3 totally was a smooth, curve off of what was happening. But we're there. Like we've identified it, and we've seen that we're in a different realm now, and we recognize those things that cause our Web 2 problems. So like media being deceitful and government corruption and corporate corruption and stuff like that. We realize all that now, but we're still in a transition period a little bit, where we're getting everyone to realize that. As people join Web3 and become like very connected, like Web3 does, those people, that's how you bring them along. Then that's how they start to realize. It's kind of like manipulating people's opinions by popular opinion. But if popular opinion is based off honesty and truth, then the popular opinion should really just reflect what is the greater good. So that's like what we got to figure out now. And the Web3 once, like it's basically as the web got better and better, it made it more and more possible to fully connect, unify, and have peace. And then beyond that, like, maybe we can't avoid war this time. Once Web3 is way more developed, it'll be easier later on because more people will be more connected and realize how small the world actually is. Now we're all just like a part of it, and we got to coexist with it and survive it. But we can do it now. We have a chance to do it now and to not destroy, but fucking this is gonna be like, this is a great time in history, honestly. Like we're in a special time right now. Like COVID, as bad as it sounds, it was the fucking fuse. It was the fuse that popped something off, and it should be humanity's unification and expansion instead of division and destruction like the media would have it be. So we gotta switch to Web3. We gotta trust the network. We gotta trust that we are really connected, in that the telephone effect won't, like the game Telephone, where people keep telling basically a story on down the line and it changes a little bit each time. That we have solid data, like, video and stuff. And often, if it's a big deal, there's corroborating evidence, a lot of it. You know, you can deep fake, but if there's a big true thing that happens, it's hard not to recognize it unless we don't care about them. Like the Kurds, for instance. The Kurds have been fucked with, or the Armenians. We don't really care. We know it was true, but we didn't really care, so it wasn't a whatever big thing. In in this case, we're connected enough now that we care. They're just people that are about, like, to have their country tried to be taken over by potentially a tyrant. We see that, and so, like, how do you not push back against that, other than the realization that war could potentially be avoided, but they could be invaded. Like, they could be invaded and war could be avoided, which means we could still progress down this we're like a tree that's just now, like, sending out branches. Like, I'm again like Trump. It's amazing. It could be great. Like, it's fantastic, wonderful. But it is like the possibilities are fucking endless, dude. Now that we have automated factories, that's another thing Musk brought. Automated factories. Those make it so people don't have to make stuff and people don't have to do stuff. Don't have to. So they can do whatever they want. They can follow their passions, whatever. It makes it so literally our environment makes the stuff we need. You know, we usually work to make the environment to be the way we need it. But now we've worked to make the environment be how we need it. Right? So now we're could be just sitting pretty as a species. We could be chilling and all have a cush, rich life. We could all get an education. We could all be connected. We could all connect with people around the world, like you do with, like, video games. Connect with people in India, Australia, Europe, wherever, Mexico, Canada. Dude, we're there. Like, this is one of the greatest periods in humanity. Like, right now, it's a big change, right? Like, it's like a much quicker industrial revolution. It's like the invention of a much quicker invention and adoption of farming. And it's an intentional one. It's like we know it is that, and we are chasing its goals, you know. Bro, humanity is poised to fuck shit up, okay? We can't... War. Dude, we'll fuck shit up in a war. We will destroy humanity like we've never seen before. Or we could go and fucking make greenhouses on the moon and cool shit like that. That's why I'm saying, like, space race. That will get people to realize, like, oh shit, we are a united interplanetary species. Like, we love them. They're all from different parts of Earth and they all love each other and get along and work together. And to do that, so, like, they pretty much do that anyway with, like, the International Space Station and stuff, but we can't down here destroy all the cool shit we built that's gonna let us do all that shit. right? And like that's just strictly from the productivity side. But then the human cost. It's a war, and it's fucking with, even if it's just Vietnam, that's awful. But it's bordering on a world war, which basically is just a war between two large economies, superpowers. The extremes are just baffling to me. How bad awful a war would be, especially now, versus how good, especially now, is in human history. This is a jumping off point. Like, this is takeoff. This is fucking rotation, wheels up. Fucking A, dude. It's literally, it's wheels up time, and the pilot and co-pilot are getting in a physical fight. Like, imagine that, picture that. Like, they're like, you're just like, you just rotated, so you just like, you're going down the tarmac, and you just like lifted up on just your back wheels, and you see the pilots literally like stressing against their seatbelts, punching each other. That's what is happening on a world stage, and we don't get it because it has been the status quo. But we just understand stuff now. Like, we're all connected. We've all been woken up to the reality of things. The reality that you can't pretty much trust any, like, only trust words coming from people you just can't trust, because you don't know where they got them. Like, even if it's a good, trustworthy person, maybe they aren't great. Like, maybe they got bad information, even from a good source or a bad, whatever, You can't trust information. I pray and beg that people will just everyone trust in the goodness of humanity, and the fact that we can do a pretty good job of getting an overwhelming consensus, and we have the power to get rid of the media. The media really is what will ruin this amazing time in human history. Like I said, it'll be war, but like I said, the linchpin there is the media. Like, the media making us believe there's going to be war, and yeah, and if there is, what do we do if they invade without shooting a shot because it's militarily controlled by an ally of theirs? What do you do? Do you trade their freedom? And it's not all their freedom, but you're trading some of their freedoms to keep the peace. But you're also we just have an example. I shouldn't say we learned from Hitler. We have an example in Hitler that appeasement may not work. So this, may not even be appeasement. I don't know who militarily controlled the Sudetenland, but yeah, I don't know. It just because it happened doesn't mean that it's gonna happen, but also it's precedented, so it could happen. That if we allow that to happen, he'll continue and take more and more. But then you have to ask, at what cost? What is it worth? What does the future look like if we make this decision? What does it look like if we make this decision? And and where do you want to put your focus? Do you want to like make it? You want to do the ideal decisions to like to boost to benefit humanity 500 years in the future, 10 years in the future, 50 years in the future. If you want to help us in 5 years in the future, you do factories and stuff. If you want to do 20 or 30 years, you do education and stuff. If you want to do 100 years type stuff, that's when you do big shit like this, basically. That's not really. No, that's one guy's plan. I'm wrong about that. And I shouldn't say one guy's plan because I don't know his plan, but we just gotta avoid war. And I think at this point, I'm so sorry to have to say this and to be saying this, and I feel awful for it, but I think we do trade some of their freedoms to maintain peace, and I think we God damn. I was gonna say appeasement, but the thing about this, why appeasement might be more, even with that risk, it might be not as bad now, is because back then the front lines were very, very well established, right? And so a preemptive invasion was everything. You take the territory and you're there. You push the line forward. Today, it's not so much like that. You attack strategic targets. So allowing them the jump on it, the sucker punch, doesn't have, like, that sucker punch isn't a sucker punch. A sucker punch would be if they came in and took out our ground-based radar and surface-to-air countermeasures. Like, that would be a sucker punch in today's type of war. In what would be a superpower v superpower war, it would be that strategic shit. A front, the front doesn't matter really. It's all about air superiority. If you don't have if you completely lack air superiority and the enemy has it, you basically are on foot in caves. Like, anything bigger than that is a big target and targetable by, enemy air power. So we like, blitzkrieg is not a fear anymore. We don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry, like, if we give him an inch, will he take a mile? Because taking a mile means nothing. Strategic targets do. Right? Basically, you can't surprise us on a front. He would have to surprise us all across Europe to make the opening move actually be a decisive move, rather than just one battle of many. Because the front doesn't matter. It's literally everything that supports the front. That's why I think, like, tanks don't really matter, because those just support the front. Those just, like, directly and only, like, have their effect on the front. But the front isn't. Most of the front is not at a strategic point. So most of it, if you have people there, is a waste of people. Because now we have smart weapons, but also smart war planning. Like we don't. It's not a territory game anymore. In until late, like if the war dragged on and it could become that, but not at the beginning. And a preemptive invasion by Russia, a sucker punch that we weren't as prepared for as we could be because we didn't have troops in Ukraine. I don't think that would make a difference in the long run of the war, and especially it makes the least difference at the beginning. Like afterwards, once. So I think the front is going to be a gradient essentially, and it's going to probably would be more and more well defined. I don't know why. I just feel like that would be what happened. Yeah, I don't know. We shouldn't fear a preemptive strike there because that would start a war, but it wouldn't be effective in the war. Like the victory would mean strategically nothing. Strategically, it'd be catastrophic because it puts so many of their forces in danger because it starts a war. So strategically, advancing there, catastrophic. Strategically, if they wanted to win a conflict, they'd have to, again, like I said, you have to do a layered approach. It's gonna be air power. It just is. That's why I think wild weasel types, which are anti-radar, anti-ground-based radar, and anti-SAM, anti-surface to air missile. I think it would be them, followed by air superiority. And those two things would give them control of the sky, right? Then you can properly support your ground troops. They're not gonna get air superiority, no fucking way. No, like what? I don't know where our carriers are, but I imagine we've got one or two in the Mediterranean, maybe one in the I imagine we've got a good number in range. It would only make sense, and the air superiority capability, the capability of controlling an area, like in what's it called? What's it called? Like a air traffic control station has like an area of jurisdiction. I forget what it's called. Airspace. One carrier can control so much airspace. They're not going to get air superior. It would be fucking. I feel like they would just lose. And maybe they wouldn't lose, but you're flinging you're either like not doing war or flinging yourself face first into a world war. Like, and there's no this little pot shot stuff. It's insignificant because Blitzkrieg doesn't work anymore. So I think we do appeasement. Unfortunate for the people who will lose freedoms. It's for peace. And if he tries to take more, we war. Like, make those our demands. So, okay, so tell him if he takes that, we're going to make a defensive front that we're going to prepare for war, essentially. If he does that, we're going to prepare for war. If he does any more, he will literally be attacking us, and it will be war. That's what we should do. I think that's what we should do. How long has this been? Fucking A. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go do other things. I've ranted a lot. I think I've gone in a lot of circles, repeated a lot of points. But that's good. Like sometimes you need to hear something a couple different ways for different aspects of it to register, and oh, you say it that way. I didn't realize, like, you get it. Humanity's ready to explode. We're just coming out of COVID. We're just getting into Web3. We're about to make reusable rockets. We're working on space habitation. We're super connected. Like like COVID kind of forced Web3. Web3 was inevitable once Web2 happened. But COVID kind of forced it all at the same time, got us all on the same page. The media has been what's trying to get us off the same page. So, like, always wraps back to media. But in this case, it's both. They're both belligerents. The media is what is making us scared, and what is making us basically accept that there's a conflict, and then there is accepting that the conflict is going to be a war, accepting the reality of a war, where we should just be so far. I think if we're just all 100% like absolutely bullshit, there, fuck you, there's going to be a war. No. I think that would, if everyone believes there's not going to be a war and is like, fuck a war, we're not doing that, there won't be a war. But people won't be like that if the media is not only separating nation from nation, but separating within nations, especially ours, mostly ours, it seems. So media's got to go. We got to trust our fucking network. Within Web3, it's why the singularity is so fucking appealing, because it really does connect us. And in this case, it'll give us truth. Like, it'll allow us to get out from under the fucking spell of media, under the curse, and freely communicate again, and share information, and know what's going on, and be able to trust information and stuff. And also, since we know information is such a big deal, I look to people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, the good billionaires, and there are some. I would look to them and geniuses and coders and sociologists and philosophers and psychologists and other people, artists, to figure out ways to disseminate information. Like, that's information dissemination. But there are two, like, there's, I'm talking to you, baby. So information dissemination, there's news, but there's also other stuff. There's history, and there's education and stuff. So information dissemination, I think that should be a huge focus for billionaires. And that will allow us to effectively use Web3 to work together, to cooperate, to form a consensus, to be a global tribe, to maximize our most effective tool, which is cooperation with other humans. Like, it's by far the most effective tool. There's nothing you can do on your own that is going to be better than what you could do with a group, right? And so, we get the information right, we educate people right, we make sure people have truthful information and everyone has the same information and it's all true, and we stay connected. We realize we're all humans. We can avoid war. We can work together like we never have, and go to fucking live in space and have it be comfortable. And have it be comfortable and yeah, dude. It's so what I was saying. I'll call you LOL. Um, Stepsister, whatever you want. We're at this crux in humanity where COVID brought us together just in the having to be doing the same thing all the time, having to go through the same shit. And it got us, we all went online and saw we can work online, but also we can feel connected still online. Like, basically, it showed everyone what gamers already know, which is you can make real connections online and satisfy the human need for connection. It's not as good as in person. Hugs are nice. Kissing's nice. Sex is nice. Cuddling's nice. But it showed we can connect for real online. COVID did, and then it kind of pushed us into the Web 3, and I think Web 3 was an inevitability. We were going there, and this pushed us towards there because it pushed us online, right? And then it pushed us online, so we developed what online means more and more, and then now it's at a point where we see, oh shit, like we are just like peeking over the horizon to see what what internet is gonna do for humanity, which, like, it's the internet is the singularity before it's collapsed, essentially. It's like a network and web where all the nodes are connected. We're all connected, and the singularity is once that's all of those consciousnesses, all those nodes are within one entity, essentially. That's the singularity. We just connected that web better, more, and realized that we should do that we should connect it better and more and whatever. And then this is what will allow us to cooperate and so finally put war behind us, have peace, and know how to bring about peace and keep peace, to bring off planet, because both those things are happening now that we have reusable rockets. We can do whatever in space, right? It's just a matter of time. Like, the tech is there. We know the way it would be done. We just haven't engineered it out, but we can't all do that if there's a war, and if there's a war, we're not going to be sharing our technology with each other. We're not going to be working together. And if it spreads to space, then it's forever in space, I think. But luckily, so far, people in space have cooperated great. Fully. Like, full cooperation so far. And that's how it always should be, because space is fucking hard. And here's another thing, but this is past our time. Once it gets so easy, we'll forget that it's hard. And again, we'll start to fight on planet, I would guess on planet, because other planets wouldn't have that much of effect on each other. Um, and when I say planet, even large space station or moon or asteroid, comet, whatever, um, separate body. As they mature and grow, and factions happen, and all that stuff, then they'll have to solve their problems individually. But that's way in the future. For now, we can have peace. We can find peace. We know how to. There's like a kind of a guidebook to it, but it's really simple. It's just listen to your conscience. It'll tell you what's right and what's the good thing to do. In almost all cases, it'll tell you what you should do. And just be good, be nice. That's as simple. And believe that world peace is possible. If everyone believes world peace is possible, then it is possible. Yeah, we can do this. We just gotta break the shackles we've been under. We've been under government and media shackles. And the government's about to start a war, and the media is about to get us to accept the starting of a war, because they make us think it's already started. We shouldn't accept any war. We shouldn't accept leaders trying to send people to invade, but they're going to. So, or I shouldn't say they're going to. They might. Yeah, and then stop trusting the media on the network. Use the network of people that we're connected to through Web3. Web3 is important. So are reusable rockets. So is electric stuff. Electric cars, all that shit. I want to see electric planes, but we don't have great energy storage solutions yet. And I want to see electric jet engines, but we don't have even close to the energy solutions that would be required to produce thrust like a real jet engine. Because you could do it, but you would have to put in so much energy, because you would just have to expand air enough that it would give you thrust, like expanding the combustion products of oxygen and fuel. The energy is insane, but fusion, I think we could use fusion not just to be the power plant, but to actually be the combustion, right? Like we could put that thermal energy directly into fuel particles, and take residual heat and use that to make power. But use that direct expansion potential to give thrust, and then I think that could do like that, but I think that's probably in like more than 50. I'm thinking like 75 years kind of thing. Is electric jets propelled by fusion. So fusion products are a propellant. That's later on. That's going to be cool. But we got to go electric. We got to trust the network. Got to get off the news media. We got to figure out mental health. We got to be nice to each other. Got to get along. Peace, prosperity, love, understanding, patience. Dude, we got a lot of things to work on, but we're working on them, and we're talking about working on them, and that's all we can do is our best. So let's keep doing it. I believe things are going to be great soon. And I think we can avoid this. And if it does happen, we'll survive it. Um, you know, with scars, and we'll be set back. Um, but I think it's more likely we avoid it, and that we can race to space and race to help all the people that are suffering due to nature and natural causes and other conflicts. Can't forget about them. Yemen, I think, right now, February 18th, 2022. I think Yemen is Yemen. I know Palestine is struggling. Yeah, we got to be working on bringing everyone on up with us, lifting everyone up to Web3 and to safety, security, bringing them up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, essentially, bringing everyone along, no one left behind. That's why we got to teach boomers Web3, and like continuously teach them, because you can't just say like, you can't just give a report on Web3 and like good luck. You know, it's like Tarkov. You learn along the way, and you gotta have people along with you to help you learn it, to help you understand, to talk about it. I've hit so many points so many times, and I feel like I'm starting to not even get to any new points. So I'm gonna go. If you made it to this point, then wow, because it's 2 hours and 30 minutes in. But wow, but also thank you so much for clicking on it, even listening, considering it, caring, for being you, and because it's not easy to be you. It's not easy to be anyone. Not easy to be me. We've been through it. It's been tough. We've lost a lot, sacrificed a lot, hurt a lot. We've feared a lot, loved a lot. It's been a wild ride, and it's about to be fucking amazing. And so let's believe it's gonna be fucking amazing, and let's help it and support it being amazing by being fucking amazing. Okay. So get out there and be amazing. I love you. Thank you.